David.
Hey Alex, how are you?
Good. I'm just trying to get set up here. If you give me a moment. You said
No, see, we've got a reporter who beat us to the meeting.
yeah.
Those
think,
those reporters.
yeah, I think we have Gordon on the line and also Rue.
And I'm speechless because I don't want to try and mispronounce. Couldn't say if it's a he or she or their first name, so they'll have to help me.
Rui Pestana? That's my guess.
From which organization?
I'm not sure. Hello, Rui. I guess maybe they went to grab a cocktail or something before the meeting.
Yeah, that's one option.
Yeah. Let me turn my camera on real quick. All right. Let's see. I need to make sure my headphones. I'm like just finishing work, so I'm like switching my laptop station. Okay, so you wanted to test something with me? What can I help?
Well, no, it was just a sign in to see if we could make it work, but I guess it's fine.
Okay. And then let me pull up from last meeting.
So I think we're all square.
Yeah, I think we're in a spot. I think I also saw so like I said, unfortunately the meeting comms meeting got canceled. I guess people couldn't make it. So I'm gonna I still need to do the doodle poll, which I'm probably gonna do like right now. And then I know I think briefly saw your comments about the website need to be updated. That Monica mentioned that she would help out with that. So because I don't think I have backend access. So I'll have to follow with Monica about that.
Okay.
Let me see.
Yeah, I was just trying to see if it kind of some of the sign in, I wasn't sure how, we had some issues before, and just to see if we did it jointly, how that worked.
Got it. Okay.
So it looks like Gordon's kind of there, but not quite there yet. I see Kimberly Manning, and I guess it's Rui Pestana.
Yeah.
Hi, good afternoon, commissioners and residents. This is Kimberly Manning. I just wanted to say hello.
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 Hello, Kimberly.
Sorry, I can't. Thank you. I can't see everyone for some reason. Okay.
There's the video on the left bottom.
Yeah, I apologize. There we go.
Hello, Kimberly.
Hello, I am doing some work with Emmanuel and the team over at DC Water. So I'm here as an observer tonight with DC Water and Emmanuel Briggs.
Great, welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome. Yes.
Thank you. Sorry about that. It was sometimes the video and the audio and everything is just, it works.
It works. Sometimes it's a challenge. It's like, yeah.
It works when it works.
Right.
Yeah. And so since this meeting is being chaired by Mr. Clunky on technology, AKA me. So I'll do the best I can. So I know it could be worse. We could be, I guess, I don't know if you all saw either news or pictures I guess it's in northern China. They've got these kind of crazy windstorms that are coming in, I guess, from the north, and it's It's a little bit on the
Yeah.
wild side, so.
Oh, wow.
If it's not one thing, it's another. It's just,
That
is always keeps
That
you
is
right, it's
thinking.
always some-
Definitely true.
Yeah, so we are, as community outreach specialists and working with a variety of infrastructure projects, we're getting familiar and adapted to Zoom, WebEx, Teams, and it is, I've seen challenges on, MSNBC, so I don't feel bad, and please don't feel bad, because I've seen where folks can't get on, national television shows, so it is a, but it is a way to keep connected, and it is never miss an ANC meeting, don't have to look for parking,
Yeah, exactly.
always be on time.
Right,
Makes
and
it
I think
easier, but it's not as much fun as being in person.
No, it's not.
No, and I think we're gonna have to, as, we go from this platform back to the regular platform, how to try to accommodate this. Because I think it's good having, for people that can't make the in-person meetings, I think this is a way at least to get, connected to people that, can't. So I think we'll have to figure out some way of, kind of dual tracking, having, somebody at the meeting either through Facebook or something, or like this, and then we've got this platform going on, and we've got people kind of out in the audience going on, and we'll have to, I don't know, I think,
Yeah,
I think we can make it work.
Yeah.
absolutely. Schools are doing it. Schools are doing it. So I know that you're working.
Exactly.
You all are.
Yeah.
Some of the schools are doing a hybrid. So it'll.
Right. And I know it's a challenge, but I think for us, it's at least the upside is that we're all adults. And the other upside is that, it's just a 90, I shouldn't say just, it's a 60, 90-minute meeting. And so as long as people like Alex.
If we're lucky, it's 60 to 90 minutes.
We've been
I
working
like
on
this
it.
group.
We've
I
been
like
working
three.
on it.
Yeah, this is
But I think the
all
point
right.
if you're working
Some
all
are 4
day,
hours.
exactly. But if you're working all day and then you've got a 7 o'clock Zoom meeting, and it's just, I can
A little
imagine
daunting.
some of you all might be zombies or feel like zombies. And so
Yes.
Happy. To be
Hello,
here.
Commissioner Nemeth. How are you today?
I'm doing okay.
You're doing okay?
Yeah,
It's been one of those weeks.
it's Tuesday. Yeah.
It's Tuesday. I know. It's Tuesday, but it should be Friday. Is that what you're saying? Am I reading between the lines there?
Yeah, that would be nice.
Yeah. All right. We're a little early.
I think we've got 7 minutes, 6 minutes. So, hey, Alex, one thing I did think of, remember that wonderful screen you got
Yes.
for the Zoom?
Like the Zoom etiquette thing?
Exactly.
Yes, I can pull that up. Let me,
Great. Gordon, welcome.
Hello, Gordon.
Hello, everybody. Good to see all of you.
Nice to see you. Gordon, we have the same headphones.
Yes, we do. Very dorky.
Yes. Hey, I thought they were cool. Just kidding. No, they're really
You have, it looks like you've got right ear headphones on.
I'm like, hello, AT&T. How may I help you?
Can you get them on the left side if you want?
No. Oh, really? I guess if you turn them around.
Yeah, there's it's hard to find, but you can get them on the left side.
Oh, I've never actually, I guess I never thought about that.
Yeah, you can. It's like you can get left-handed scissors as well. It's just
Ah.
you have to find them.
Got it.
They cost more too. They always cost more. The
Oh, the
scissors
left
at
hand.
least do.
Oh, man.
One of my childhood traumas was I was left-handed, and so I had these lefty scissors, and of course they were labeled lefty. So I was like, oh my god, am I a lefty? Oh dear.
Let's see. I always thought it was so cool. My brother was left-handed, and I thought it was so cool. So I wanted to be left-handed, and I kind of am ambidextrous. Like I can scrawl my name with my left hand if I had to.
You're more likely to become a president in various other things.
If you're left-handed or right-handed? Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was
Left-handed.
just going to say that. Yep. Most presidents have been left. Many presidents have been
Huh.
left-handed.
Interesting.
There's a
Very
really good tennis player, Rafael Nadal, and he's left-handed, and he
Mhm.
takes advantage of his left-handedness because he hits, if you're left-handed, your forehand goes to the other person's backhand, and if you're right-handed, it goes to their left side. And so,
It is quite an advantage. Oh,
I was watching an interview once with Ringo Starr, and I'm trying to remember who it was interviewing. It was another musician who was interviewing him. And he was asking Ringo, he was saying, I don't quite get how you do the opening riff to, I think it was Ticket to Ride. He's like, I've been like, I've had a lot of people try to play it, but no one gets it quite like you. I don't understand what it is that you do. And he said, it's very simple. See, I'm a lefty, but I play a right-handed kit.
Oh,
So there are times where I have to make adjustments. So because my hands don't, my arms don't move, are not in position to get to certain places, there's always something for certain things. There's a split second where things are just a little different because of that. And that's what makes his style just slightly unique.
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah, I thought that was fascinating.
because he was the
I
drummer.
think also,
Yeah, he was the drummer for the Beatles.
I also think it wasn't, I think Jimi Hendrix was left-handed too, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I think someone said he played his guitar like upside down or something like that.
He did. He didn't actually have a left-handed guitar, but what he did is
Yeah.
he turned it upside down.
Wow,
Yeah, that's right.
that's amazing. He was an amazing guitarist.
Seriously.
So I think Stan is here, and let's see who else. So we got 4. We've got a majority. Rachel, welcome. Gloria Garcia, welcome. Somebody's calling in. Greetings, Commissioner Wall.
Hey,
Hello,
Commissioner
Commissioner
Castillo
Wall.
and colleagues.
Hello,
Good evening.
good evening.
Commissioner Mehta is with us.
Hi,
Commissioner
Commissioner.
David is with.
Hello.
All right.
And David, I thought I had my the little PowerPoint up and ready to go, but I think I lost it amongst my screens here somewhere. So
Oh,
sorry
yeah.
about that. But we might, I think we're probably good to go. So we might not need it for this evening.
You've got 60 seconds, Alex.
I know. I'm like, I like had that slide up and now I'm like, where did it go?
Actually, you've got longer than that because I'll just talk real slow.
I know, I made it and everything.
Let's see. Oh my gosh. The heck?
Oh, here it is. I found it.
You found it?
Yes, finally. I think I have OneDrive, and so it just like.
So I think it is 7 o'clock. We have a full house. I can see all of my commissioner colleagues. So I'm going to call this March 16th, day after the Ides of March and day before St. Patrick's Day meeting to order. So let's start. And while Commissioner Appa is finding the Zoom page.
That's right.
we'll
I'm
do
ready to
roll
share.
call, and we'll go in reverse order. So we'll go with.
Oh, I can't share. I'm sorry, David. For some reason, my sharing is disabled. This is what happened last time.
Yeah, David, you have to enable, you're the host. You have to go and enable shares.
So this is a commercial break. So those of you on the meeting, you can whistle a jingle while I try to figure out how to share.
Very simple. You go to the share button and there should be an option for you to just allow people to share.
But then I'm sharing my screen, but how do I get somebody else to share a screen?
There should be an option. I mean, I know when I do it on my Mac, I mean, I don't know what platform you're using, but
Well, we see
There's an
your screen,
option
David.
on your
Oh, yeah.
menu.
View options at the top there, David, next to the green thing. The very top. It says view op.
I've
Oh,
got-
yeah, you're using a
oh,
Mac
here
as
we
well.
go.
So at the bottom where it says share screen,
Hang on. Let me just stop share stuff. Yeah.
so in the bottom center, it should say share screen.
Yeah, I've got that.
Okay, if you just,
Oh, here we go.
like, there should be like an up
Okay.
arrow next to
Yep,
it.
just did it. So it says multiple people can do it.
Yeah.
Okay, let me give it a shot now. Aha, okay, great, sure.
So let's do roll call while we've got the screen share. Thank you, Commissioner Nemeth. Roll call. So we've got Commissioner Appa,
Present.
Commissioner Beekner.
Hello.
Hello, Commissioner David.
Present.
All right, Commissioner Mehta.
Present.
I'm sorry.
Present.
Okay. Commissioner Nemeth
I'm here. Thank you.
and Commissioner Wall
Present.
and Commissioner Christille. I am definitely here. So welcome to the meeting. So before we get going, we've got this wonderful screen share about the Zoom, about welcoming, and please keep your mic on mute. That helps us with varying bandwidths so nobody echoes. You've got the question feature. You can either put the question in the chat, or if you go to the participants and you click on it, there's you click on that and you'll see that you can raise your hand when you're in that function. And then as far as presentations go, we'll try to get to those after that part of the meeting's over, or again, I think the chat function is really a good way to stick questions in there. And between the 7 of us and anybody else, we can kind of monitor the chat so we can get questions going. So without further ado, let's go to the agenda. And I think, we had some deletions and really no additions that I know of. Any changes from the commissioners?
So we have to delete number 5, the Burger King. We never did receive a response from them. So I'm pretty sure they're not here tonight. I don't expect them, since we never did get a response to our latest exchange with them. So we'll strike them from the agenda.
And the other strike is the Congresswoman Norton Holmes. She had I was supposed to get back to her, and by the time I got back to her, her schedule had filled up, so she's not going to be able to make tonight, and we're looking at her for the May meeting. So those are the changes that I know of. Any other commissioners, any changes? So
Can you show the agenda, or can you put it in the chat?
That's what I'm gonna pull up the agenda right now
Oh,
so we
okay,
can
okay.
see it. Sorry, I was just trying to, I'm trying to work my multiple screens here. So hopefully.
I'll wait because Commissioner Appa is probably a lot faster than I am.
Well, we'll see about that.
All right,
Boy.
it's
Can people see it? No, okay.
not yet.
Frustrating, okay.
You're doing great, Commissioner Appa.
There we go. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing. Here we go. Share. All right.
Nope, that's the wrong one.
Awesome.
Oh, that was the one that was on. Oh, you know why? Because it was. Sorry, everyone.
Here, I can bring up the current one.
Okay, sorry. I think I pulled it off and it already had switched to the meeting, so my apologies.
And then while Commissioner Nemeth is doing that, Commissioner Wall posted it in the chat.
Great.
Zoom teamwork.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, so
So one of the watchwords during this period is patience. And so we appreciate your patience as we navigate our meeting this evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Nemeth, for pulling it up.
yep, so we're striking the Burger King and we're striking Congresswoman Norton.
I think you have the wrong window highlighted, Monica. Commissioner Nemeth, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Do you see the March 16?
I see it.
Maybe that's. There it is. Yep.
You got the right one? If not, I have it up as well. Okay. So we've got two consent
Any
items.
other proposed changes? Then
Nope.
I move that
Motion
we
for-
approve tonight's agenda.
Second. All in favor?
I,
Aye. All opposed? All right, we have an agenda. Thanks. All right, so now we've got, I think it's time for, we got the consent items. We've got two consent items. First is the February 16th meeting minutes that Commissioner Buechner sent out. And then
Yeah, we already
second,
approved, when we approved the agenda, those were automatically approved.
oh gosh, my memory is failing me. We did that last time too, right?
Yeah.
And then this, I guess the one consent item is 3566
Mhm.
Alton Street. It's a curb cut.
Yeah.
And that gets approved too?
That was automatically approved just now.
All right.
That was a straightforward one. Just as I mentioned in Slack or in the email, that was actually something that was approved a couple of years ago. This had been an ongoing project. You know, the concept had been approved by the ANC back in 2019, and finally they actually moved forward with it in TOPS. So this was just a formal approval now that they actually applied for the permit.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I think next is we've got commissioner updates and treasurer's report. Let's do treasurer's report first.
Yeah, it's a very quick one in that we don't have any updates. This month we'll have our quarterly report next month for the April meeting to present. And that is it on my end. I would like from a future meeting standpoint, I know we have DC Water here with us today. Would love to reach out to Pepco to invite them to present to us at a future meeting, only because they're doing a fair amount of work in Forest Hills as relates to telephone pole replacement or electrical utility pole replacement and line replacement. So it'd be great to get an understanding of that work and when it should be completed and how they're mitigating impacts to the neighborhood. But that's my only item for the future.
Thank you, Commissioner Wall. So next commissioner updates. I think I'll start with, I'll go in reverse order. So Commissioner Wall, do you have any updates you'd like to provide for us tonight?
That was it, just on the Pepco meeting for the future.
Okay. Commissioner Nemeth.
I'm trying to think. I do not have any updates for tonight, actually.
Okay.
That's it.
All right. Commissioner Mehta.
I do not have any updates.
Commissioner David.
I don't have any updates.
Commissioner Buechner.
No updates from here either.
Uh-oh. Commissioner Appa.
now I feel pressure to like make up an update. No, I mean, I think no major updates, I guess. I'm still working with UDC as well as Ward 3 Mutual Aid on the food pantry. Hopefully that should be set up in the next couple of weeks or so. I think that's the last major update. Only other plug I will give is I know that our grants cycle is coming up. So for those who are looking to apply for the grants, just remind the community that that's available. So please do so. We do have a budget for that. But other than that, I know there's several people that reached out to me about that. So that's the only update I have.
Commissioner Appa, where is it available? How would somebody avail themselves of the grant information?
Yeah, so they're on our website, anc3f.com. There is a section that talks about grants. And so I can drop the link in the chat so that people can take a look. Thank you.
Commissioner Cristil, I have one more update. I know Gloria Garcia is on with us this afternoon from Van Ness Main Street. She posted in the chat information about the spring cleanup that's coming up this weekend and subsequent weekends. So just want to direct everyone to the chat for that information, just in case she's not able to talk about it later on.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Wall. I don't have any. I'll save my updates for some of the committee reports, which are next. So I think first, I'll start with Housing and Neighborhoods Committee. Mr. George Hoffman, who has chaired that committee, had to step down. And so there was no updates at this time, except we're looking if there's anybody out in the audience that's interested in chairing the Housing and Neighbors Committee. We certainly entertain somebody for that. So stay tuned for more on that committee. And I see, I'll go alphabetically. So I see Bob Daling, who's going to give an update on streets and sidewalks. Welcome, Bob.
Yes, thank you. So I don't have too much to report because I think what I would have reported is on your agenda later, but just briefly, the committee did meet this month. We meet every month, second Wednesday. So if anyone is interested in joining out there, please drop me an email. And most of what's been on our agenda lately has to do with the Connecticut Avenue Safety Study. I know you'll talk about that later. That's it. Any questions from the commissioners? I'm glad to respond.
Thanks, Mr. Dealing. And next, I see next to on my screen, next to Bob Dealing is James Tandrick, the new Schools and Universities Chair. So James, the floor is yours.
Awesome. Thank you very much. So we had our first meeting last month. So meetings are going to be monthly, every fourth Monday of the month. So if you want to be able to join, please just email me. I'll put an email in the chat, or you can also just message me on Zoom. Our first big action item is basically sort of getting in contact with each of the schools within ANC3F. We're still doing that right now, so we're still in the process of that, as well as talking about ideas for budgeting and what things we want to sort of advocate for. So those are our updates.
All right, Mr. Tandrick, thanks for that. Erica Rosenberg, the chair of the Parks and Wetlands meeting, could not make it tonight. She sent me a pretty long list of items, and I didn't commit them to memory, but I know there is somebody here, Judy Bulow. If you're out there and if you want to comment on the Parks and Wetlands update, I'd appreciate it. If not, I'll give it a 15-second go. Judy, you out there?
I am, but I'm utterly unprepared. I'm just joining you now, so I will hand the floor back if I may.
No, that's perfectly acceptable. I think I put somebody on the spot last month, Corey Levine, and I could see her, I could read her face. So I can tell you the committee's been very active, and a lot of the work has been around both the Melvin Hazen and Soapstone areas, working with Rock Creek Conservancy and the Park Service. I know there's somewhat related activity will be covered later on with DC Water, but there is really a lot of work that the volunteers are getting that are working on. And I know one of the kind of main efforts that we'll talk about as we talk to grants is removing invasive species from the Melvin Hazen part west of Connecticut Avenue, kind of between Connecticut and Reno. So, but a lot of good work from that committee. So thanks for all that work. So I think next we're on to the regular agenda, unless there's any questions from commissioners on any of the committee work. All right, so let's go to, we have a guest team tonight. Mr. Emmanuel Briggs from DC Water is gonna give us an update on the work that they've been doing. And so since I've enabled the screen share, Mr. Briggs, you're up. And the floor is yours. And I think they've got a presentation that's, I think, around 15-20 minutes, and then we'll have the balance of the time for questions. So Mr. Briggs, you are, the floor.
All right.
Is yours.
All right. So thank you, Chairman Chris Steele and other esteemed commissioners on ANC3F for allowing us to come and talk to you about our Soapstone Valley Park Rehabilitation Project. In addition to that project, I've got lots of other folks on the line as well to help address any questions that may come up about the water main replacement projects and operations that have been happening in the area in recent weeks and months. As far as the presentation, I've got Barak Kainak, who is our design project manager, who will be presenting some of the slides. And I've also got Mr. William Elledge, who's the senior manager of our design branch, who will also be presenting some of the slides as well. And so in addition to the information on the project and then addressing questions that come about other things, we also have a link that I will be placing in the chat box during the presentation. So what we're doing moving forward is that we're trying to gauge customers' level of satisfaction and reaction to our outreach efforts, such as this ANC meeting tonight. And so that link will present 7 questions that will beg responses from the community, from the ANC. We're trying to gauge basically what you think about the presentation. You have a better understanding about our processes as a result of the presentation, and what kinds of things can we do to improve our presentation format moving forward. So again, I will put that in the chat as the presentation is going. And with that said, we can upload the presentation.
Emmanuel, do you want to share the screen, or do you want me to, or?
Will, if you could put it up, yeah.
No.
All right.
Are we seeing the cover sheet that says Soapstone Valley Park Sewer Rehabilitation?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Great. Okay, so you can take us right to the second slide, Will. Awesome. So as I mentioned, the primary purpose of the meeting tonight is to, well, our part in the meeting is to give you a concise but detailed update on where we are with the Soapstone Valley Park Sewer Rehabilitation Project. And so with that said, again, I'm Emmanuel Briggs, the manager of community outreach in our Office of Marketing and Communications. Again, Will Elledge, the senior manager design branch, and Barak Kainak, the design project manager. And that's it. I'm going to hand things over to Will, who will take us into slide 3.
Awesome. Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? Okay. Thank you very much, everybody, for attending. As Emmanuel just said, my name is William Elledge. I'm the senior manager of the design branch. That basically makes me and my team responsible for the design phase of all of the projects that are located in your district streets and in the district parks. As commissioners, you and your constituents have made very clear on this of the primary concerns you have on this project, which basically starts, as we show here on the slide, with trees. To help address this concern, we are actually modifying our standard procedures from how we would normally do it. When DC Water usually hires a contractor, it's usually done on low bid. In a low bid environment, the contractor's interest is clear: submit the lowest bid, then construct the project as quickly and efficiently as possible to maximize the profit. If our contract, for example, were to allow 245 trees to be removed, and that happens to be the cheapest and fastest way for the contractor to build the project, then 245 trees would be cut and removed. To prevent that from happening on this project, we have a three-pronged strategy that we believe will cause the contractor to save as many trees as possible. The first prong of our strategy is replacing our traditional low bid procurement approach. Instead of low bid, DC Water is using qualification-based selection. What this does is it allows DC Water to select a contractor with the best experience, capabilities, technical approach, and quality of personnel to match the needs of the project. Before being allowed to submit a bid price, potential contractors have to submit a technical proposal wherein they explain their approach to things like saving more trees, managing employee parking, and managing access. And in this project in particular, we asked them to describe their approach to managing access along the west half of Audubon Terrace and the alley between Park Van Ness and Park Connecticut in particular. So DC Water will choose the most qualified contractors based on those technical proposals, and only those contractors will be permitted to submit a price. Ultimately, using qualification-based selection, price is only one component of the scores used to determine which contractor will win the work. So qualification-based selection instead of the low bid selection is the first prong of our strategy. The second prong of our strategy is offering a tree stipend. For the contractors deemed most qualified, we're actually going to pay them $10,000 stipend as they're preparing their bids to go to the park, evaluate the access paths we've already designed, and come up with their own ideas on how to reduce even more the number of trees that need to be cut down while constructing the project. Their objective will be to come up with the smallest possible number of trees to be cut. You can kind of think of it like name that tune, with each contractor saying, I can build the project in X number of trees, except there's no back and forth between contestants. They basically start with their best and final offer, write it on a form, put it in a sealed envelope, and we open it with their price. DC Water then grades the contractor's proposals, awarding more points to contractors who can save more trees. The third prong in our tree strategy is a tree incentive, and this is easiest to explain using an example. We show access paths on the drawings that make up the contract, and on a given sheet, if, for example, we show 15 trees to be removed, and if the contractor only has to remove 12, they've now saved 3 trees. With the incentive, we are still going to pay them 50% of the bid price for those 3 trees that they've saved. The contractor saves money by not having to cut down the tree, and they're incentivized to save the tree because they can make a larger profit by saving the tree than by cutting it. In a traditional contract, we only pay them when they do the work. If they don't cut down the tree, we don't pay them. So without the incentive, contractors actually make more money by cutting down more trees. We want to flip that on its head. With the incentive, the contractor will actually make more money cutting down fewer trees. So now their financial incentive aligns with our goal of saving trees. Without these strategic moves, we could have a scenario where the contractor is incentivized to make the access path as wide as possible, removing as many trees as permissible. And DC Water, of course, wants to preserve as many of the trees as possible. So with this three-pronged approach, we will save as many trees as physically can be saved. We have quite a bit more information, in particular still about trees in soapstone. So we'd like to share with you tonight. And to do so, I'm going to go ahead and pass it off to Barak Kainak, the project manager for the job.
Thank you, Will. Thanks for the introduction. Good evening, everyone. My name is Barak Kainak. I'm the project manager for DC Water, and I'm very excited tonight to provide an update on our much anticipated Soapstone Valley Park sewer rehabilitation project. As the removal of trees will have an adverse effect on the natural historic scenery of the park, DC Water has developed plans for the restoration of the natural landscape that will contribute to the regeneration of the natural scenery of the park. As part of these plans, DC Water will both replace trees on site and contribute to a fund to be held by a third party that NPS will access for landscape restoration efforts, both within and outside of Soapstone Valley Park. Number of trees down will be held to the minimum. The EA allows up to a maximum number of trees to be removed, which is up to 371 trees. Per our final design drawings, there will be up to 245 trees that will be removed. With the incentive and the stipend that we are paying to the contractor, we hope to reduce it some more. So to sum up, a year ago, when we finished the EA, We were at 371. As the design developed, we already reduced that to 245. As far as tree planting, up to 245 trees to be replanted, plus and up to 225 additional trees will be planted in NPS designated areas. So that's a total of up to 270 trees that will be replanted. Also to mention, we are planting up to 299 live stakes at stream banks for stabilization. As far as the maintenance of trees, DC Water's contractor will be responsible for tree maintenance for short term, which is defined as the 30-day period following the date of completion of the entire plant installation in the project area. At the end of 30-day period, surviving plants are to again be counted. The contractor will ensure that the survival level of all planted vegetation is maintained at 100% during the short-term maintenance period. Long-term maintenance will pick up after the 30-day short-term period and will be split between NPS and DC Water. Basically, DC Water will cover the first 2 years, and NPS's designated third party will take over for years 3 to 5, which are funded by DC Water. The goal at the end of year 2, before handoff to NPS, and there will be a contractual mechanisms in place to check on survivability during the first and second years. The intention for the contractual mechanism is for the contractor to take survivability efforts seriously. Trees can be replaced anytime, but what makes a difference on restoration is to support trees' initial growth and establishment. DC Water considers this should be important since the areas where trees will be removed are important resources for NPS. Worth to mention, this is part of DC Water layered commitment to natural resources in the park that started with the design and minimizing tree removals to the maximum extent possible through the bid process by selecting the most qualified bidder, not the lowest price, and through post-construction maintenance. As far as watering the trees, DC Water contractor will oversee the project maintenance for 2 calendar years, which represents 4 seasons per year. Starting on the date the last tree is planted, DC Water contractor will come out to water the newly planted trees. DC Water and NPS site inspection shall take place when the last tree is planted. DC Water's contractors shall meet again to have a second on-site inspection by the 10th month of the second year. Next slide, please. Thank you. Since our last update to you, we have made much progress in preparation for this construction project, and we would like to talk with you about the following tonight. First, I will provide you with an update on public outreach, then NEPA updates about FONSI and EA, then I will share some important information about the project, then I will show you our tentative schedule, and lastly, we will happily answer all of your questions. Next slide, please. This map shows the properties where we had discussions with either property owners or facilities departments. We will continue to meet those who request information. Given the volume of outreach on this project, we know many are aware of the project, but we also know there are surely some folks who aren't as aware as they want to be. While we have spoken to someone from every building, we haven't spoken to every single resident of larger buildings. If there's a maintenance department or a condo association that wants to have a presentation specific for their building, we are happy to conduct a presentation for them. One of our goals is keeping you as commissioners and your constituents up to date. One other note about community outreach, because we know there's a lot of public interest, we are in the process of hiring a community outreach specialist specific for this project. The company we're hiring is Tina Boyd and Associates, and one of the representatives from Tina Boyd is with us tonight. Once we get closer to construction, you will start seeing them sharing information. NPS signed the FONSI funding, no significant impact, and a memorandum of understanding in April 2020. For those of us not familiar with FANSI, it is basically an explanatory document that describes why the selected action will have no significant effects on the environment. It is based on the EA and the comments from the agencies and the public. The FANSI also describes the rationale for the decision and the conservation measures that will be implemented to avoid, minimize, and mitigate impacts. The National Park Service prepared an EA to examine alternative actions and environmental impacts associated with the proposed Soapstone Valley Sewer Rehabilitation Project. NPS completed the EA and approved DC Water's proposed project in May 2020. The EA was open to the 60-day public review period in 2019. Both FANSI and the EA are publicly available on the NPS website. The link is shown on the slide. Thank you. DC Water has recently finalized the design. The final design is based on the EA and the comments from NPS and DC Water's stakeholders and the public. Our design incorporates several actions to avoid, minimize, and mitigate adverse effects to the park. These measures have already been included in project design to address anticipated effects to the stream, park vegetation, soils, and topography, and are included as environmental commitments in the EA prepared for the project. As far as access path disturbance would be minimized by using the lightest and least intrusive equipment possible to undertake rehabilitation work at manholes. Trees and vegetation could be cut flush to ground level, allowing roots to remain and minimizing soil disturbance. In many areas, access paths have been eliminated and work areas would be accessed by workers on foot. Asset protection would improve stream appearance. Pipelining would improve water quality and reduce sewer odor that adversely affects the historic character of the park and trail by the reduction of sanitary sewer overflows. As part of our outreach efforts, we reached out to a number of community stakeholders who will be impacted by this project in some way or another. It was important that we met with them and shared some important information about what they can expect to see during our work and addressed any questions they have. As Will mentioned earlier, in this project, we are replacing our traditional low bid procurement approach. Instead of low bid, DC Water is using qualification-based selection. This allows DC Water to select a contractor with the best experience, capabilities, technical approach, and quality of personnel to match the needs of this special project. As far as the permits, this project requires multiple permits for many agencies, and one of them is a CLAMAR, Conditional Letter of Map Revision from FEMA. We have submitted our application, and we are hoping to hear from them in next month or so. This project also requires wetlands permits. We're pursuing wetlands permit with Army Corps and DOE joint wetlands in Section 404 permit. And this project requires DDOT and DOE permits. As far as monthly newsletter, the primary importance of monthly newsletters is maintaining the ongoing connections with the community stakeholders. Here we actually have a question for the commissioners. If we publish a monthly newsletter, is there something you would like to see in it? In 2 slides, we'll have open to questions, and if you'd like to share what you would like to see in the newsletters, that would be really helpful for us. As far as future meetings, we will hold meetings with the community stakeholders as requested. Here on the slide, I'm sharing our tentative project schedule with you. Currently, we are in the process of identifying shortlisted firms. Next month, contractors will submit their bid price. Following on June, DC Water Board of Directors meeting will be held. In August, we are anticipating to issue the notice to proceed to our selected contractor. The actual boots on the ground date is in December. The construction is to be completed in winter of 22 or 23. As I mentioned in previous slide, there will be a tree maintenance which will take 5 years. DC Water will cover the first 2 years, and MPS's designated third party will take over for years 3 to 5. And that brings us to the end. I'd like to thank you for all your time and attention this evening. We are now interested in hearing your questions.
Thank you, Barack. So again, as I mentioned earlier, so this is the point where we have questions on the Soapstone Valley Park project, or the water main replacement projects, or operations, or lead service replacements, or water quality, whatever you may have questions about. We've got a cadre of subject matter experts on the line to help address those questions.
So why don't we, I know our protocol sometimes is to start with commissioners, but why don't we start with the community first? And then if there's after that, after we've gone through the community questions, and you can either, you can say them or you can put them in the chat. And after we go through those, if there's any remaining questions, we'll give the commissioners, my commissioner colleagues, a shot. So who wants to be first from the community? I see a question from Pat Caston. Where in the park will the project begin?
Okay, so Barack or Will, can you speak to that?
So the timing of individual, make sure I'm, yeah, you can hear me. Okay. The timing of individual components is in the means and methods. So that's generally up to contractors. For sewer rehabilitation work, they tend to work from the upstream end in the downstream direction. But in this project, it's a little bit more complicated than that, because there's both the CIPP work as well as the stream restoration work and the access path work. The access paths have to be installed before either the other two can go forward. And the contractor may choose to phase that in a number of different ways. So it's a specific question that, to be honest, we don't have a specific answer for until we actually have a contractor on board and they're starting to build their specific plan. And that is information, by the way, if y'all are interested in that newsletter, and if you're interested in the newsletter, that is information that would be presented then in that newsletter, so you can keep track of which parts of the park are being worked on at any given point in time.
Any more? I see a question, and I kind of said what I wasn't going to do. Sorry, Pat, for asking your question for you. I wanted to give you the chance to ask it, but I see a question from Kathy Sykes. So Kathy, you're up.
Okay, I guess my first question is, I just wanted to understand this qualification-based selection. Do you have separate bids with the amount of money they're requesting to have it done, separate from the qualifications and how they go about it, and then those tree credits? That's just an easy question.
So what the contractors do is potential contractors, right? They all submit a technical proposal. And then, however many of them there are, we evaluate them. We determine who the most qualified contractors are. And then each of them will submit both the price and the number of trees. It's just a simple one-page form. How many trees can you cut? What's the smallest number of trees you can cut down and deliver the project is really the question. And those two things then are evaluated together.
I love that process. That's why I was curious. I live in a co-op, and I love that they don't go for the lowest price first. Yeah. Sometimes get the lowest level of service too.
Yeah.
I am a master gardener, and I know that UDC was looking for more opportunities to be helpful in the neighborhood and so forth. So I was wondering if you guys have reached out to UDC, and I know there's other people who train weed warriors, but in some of your slides, you had a lot of ivy climbing up the trees, which I know is very threatening to trees. Because I think you could get the community really involved to be helpful as this is going on, or before you start your work to tackle some of, the big ivy problem.
So Barack, can you, I don't believe we've had any outreach specifically with UDC. Can you correct me there?
No, we have not reached out to UDC.
So
I mean, there's other groups that train weed warriors, but I think UDC, with their new program coming back, was looking for more opportunities for gardeners. And I know a number of us expressed interest because of COVID. A lot of plans got waylaid, that I think there could be a big cadre of people willing to help.
So that's fascinating. One of the things that Park Service was very intent on is making sure that that full restoration is completely squarely in DC Water's responsibility. So we have it queued up for our contractor to really 100% take care of all that. If there's opportunities for community involvement, we'll definitely pay attention to that and figure out, what we can do, where we can do it, coordinating through the Park Service as well, of course.
Thank you.
Barbara Kraft is next in the queue. Sorry, I was muted.
Yes, I wanted to ask about water quality issues. If we should expect any more water quality issues in connection with either the water main replacement that's going on my street, I know Upton Street, or the Soapstone Valley project.
So we do water quality experts on the line tonight. I will say that I'll speak, and then Maureen Schmeling, who's our Director of Water Quality and Technology, she's on the line tonight. So we do a series of flushing activities throughout the city on an ongoing basis to ensure the lines are flushed and they're cleared. And I know that also our team does that in proximity to construction projects such as these as well, just to make sure lines are constantly being flushed. But if Maureen, if she's on the line, she can speak a little bit more to that.
Yes, I am here. Thank you for inviting me. Emmanuel did a good job of summarizing it. Do you have a particular street or area you're asking about, or did you observe discolored water at your home? So I could answer the question better.
I was asking about, I'm speaking from the standpoint of Upton Street, the 2900 block of Upton Street in Upton, east of Connecticut Avenue.
Upton. Do we have a small diameter water main going on there? That doesn't sound familiar right at Upton.
Yeah, there's been a crew working.
Yes, there's a,
Which one is that, Emmanuel?
Yeah, so there's two concurrent water main replacements going on in the Forest Hills neighborhood, and one of them contract 13C that is on Upton Street. Yep.
Oh, yes, you're the one that feeds the Lincoln Avenue. Okay. Yes, that small diameter water main project's going on. So these projects were initiated by our department, and when the construction happens, we try to routinely flush in coordination with the construction that's going on. But from time to time, customers will observe discolored water, and just please contact us whenever that happens, and then we'll come and flush at that time.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I've got Marjorie Scher is next in the queue. Marjorie, you're on. Let's see. Marjorie, could you unmute yourself?
Dave,
Okay.
oh, never mind.
Can you hear me?
Now we can hear you. Great.
All right, sorry about that. Yeah, hello, everybody. My question is, and it's good news that you reduce the number of trees that will be taken down. Perhaps Will or Mr. Briggs could address how that was, how you were able to do that, because that's a significant reduction of 100 from last time.
I will have to confess, I'm not actually sure how the design team did it. I mean, I can kind of generally say as the design details, and by the way, we do have our consultant on board. So if Barack, if you have a good answer for it, or if we can punt to either Annie or Eric, who might be able to help out with that one a little bit. I'm generally assuming that as the design details kind of became more defined, we could definitively say, that tree absolutely can be saved. Barack, can you answer that question more?
Yes, you're correct, Will. As we developed our design, we were able to reduce the number of trees. The 371 number came from EA, which is the reasonable worst case condition, assuming all trees and LOD came down. As we define our design, we were able to trim some of the trees, not necessarily cut them, in order to get the vehicles through the heavy vehicle access paths. So we were able to reduce the number of trees that way. And also to mention, additional refinements will be made to minimize the LOD during final design as well. And as we have a stipend and incentive for the contractor, we are hoping to reduce the number of trees that will be cut in this project as well.
Are you able to show us where the new, thank you. Are you able to show us where the new access paths will be? Is there a diagram for that?
They are shown in our final design plans. I wasn't prepared to show it at this meeting. I don't have it up right now.
Okay, but that we are able to see that at some point?
Yeah, we're happy to share that information. It is a little bit of a challenge, as you well know, when you're holding those plans and looking at them in the field and saying, okay, there's that manhole, there's that manhole, there's that trail, to kind of orient yourself. But we're happy to share the documents. It is a little bit hard to kind of follow it exactly in the field, but we'll share what we have. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks. I think we've got a question from, oh my God, my memory. Lois Foster, you got a question? I think we'll take one more question after that, and then we'll go to commissioners and call it a presentation. So Lois, you're up.
Okay, thank you. Couple questions and one comment or question. On the Linian outfall on the east end, will you be repairing that in any way in terms of to limit the erosion into soapstone? Because that area really has eroded a lot when it comes down from Linian Avenue. That's one question. And the second question is, right now the flood maps, the National Flood Insurance maps designate the floodplain almost all the way to the outfall on the west end. But do you anticipate the flood designation of the 100-year to be smaller? And no, I didn't think so. But yes, I figured that. But the question I have is, are you designing it to a specific flood level? Because we get tons of flooding, as you know, when we get however many inches above normal. And how are you designing it to deal with that performance question of 8, 10, 12 inches of rain in an hour or something? How are you considering that point?
Brock, you want to take the Linian Avenue outfall first?
Sure. Absolutely. As far as the Linian Avenue, we won't be touching that slope downstream of the Linian outfall. That's under DOE purview. Our scope includes work from the NPS property to the stream. However, step pools in the public right-of-way have failed, and our current scope of work doesn't include that failed area. And we met with DOE, and they said that they will take on the entire stretch of the gully from where it begins at Linian Avenue upstream to where it ties into the mainstream of Soapstone Valley stream. But yeah, the short answer, DOE will take on the entire stretch of the gully.
And then do you want to answer about the stormwater return period for how we're, as we're doing those stream improvements to protect the sewer assets, the return period?
Or
if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead, Will.
So our design standard is a 15-year design storm. And basically, we use hydrologic modeling, and we determine how much flow is coming down the channel. And because we are increasing the floodplain, we had to do a full model of what that impact would be in the stream channel. We are increasing the floodplain because soapstone is so incised and so deep. It doesn't impact any homes or anything like that. But it is increasing the floodplain because basically what we're doing is we're bringing fill in to protect the sewers again, where they used to be buried, and we're reburying them, and we're bringing in boulders and large woody debris to build a channel that would be able to withstand that future erosion. And the 15-year design storm is the standard It's kind of broadly speaking for this kind of work, it is an industry standard. And it's what our design manual also has.
Okay, what is the industry standard quickly again? What is the industry?
A 15-year design storm.
15-year design storm. That's not a lot. So you'll
No, it's
obviously
not.
have erosion and you'll probably lose some vegetation and so on and so forth. Although I'm not asking for structural changes, believe me. All right, we'll have to see, and it'll probably have to be repaired. One last quick thing in terms of bird nesting.
I'm sorry,
Bird nesting.
we're gonna have to move on. We got one more
Right.
question and I want to get commissioners in here. So why don't you put your question in the chat and then we'll collect all the chat questions and we'll get them back.
Well, this will be very quick. There may be birds nesting. We have a pair of red shoulders already nesting and they may be gone by December, but we have an owl in the park. Are you going to do anything to protect if something had birds that have nested? In other words, this is their location.
Brock, do you want to handle that one?
As far as the northern long-eared bats, we understand it's one of the invasive species.
Endangered species.
Endangered species. And we understand that there are tree cutting limits in the park. So the tree cutting only allowed between November and April. We won't be cutting any trees from April to October.
Go
ahead, Bill.
And really the species that's driving that isn't an owl or anything else. It's really that long-eared bat.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we have one more question, and I think it's from Kathleen's iPad. So Kathleen, you're it. Please, one question.
Hi there. Yeah, I find this all fascinating and I'm so glad to see us moving forward on soapstone sewers and the rest. Thank you. Could you please give us a link to all of this information so I can read it? My note taking is poor. So will you provide a link at some point so we can see what you're doing and read what you're doing? Okay.
Yeah, I think there should be, I've asked Mr. Briggs to put the link in the chat and we'll have this on our website. And
So currently, the only link that we had was the link to the survey. As far as the link to the presentation, we just had the slides, which I provided to you, Chairman, earlier today.
Mr. Barak Kanyak provided a lot of info and I couldn't begin to get all of it. Is there some way that you will provide that?
So Chairman Christelle, I'm not sure if you want to, if since we provided the slides to you earlier today, if you want to, send those on from what we've sent to you, or we can send them, or however you'd like to, because that's what we typically do, is we will send the slides following the meeting to, to customers that we have email addresses for, but,
Yeah, we have the slides. We'll put them up on the website and I think.
Perfect.
Will it be, excuse me, will it be the detailed text that Barak gave?
Well, Emmanuel, what we can do is if we include the actual PowerPoint, it has not a word for word script, but it's actually relatively close to that in the notes, and then they'd be able to read. Everybody would be able to read through that.
Great. Okay. Thank you,
William. Thanks. All right, so commissioners, we're going to try and wrap this up. Any questions from you all that you haven't already heard? We haven't already heard tonight.
I just wanted to point out that that this is also being recorded, and so Kathleen, you can also find the recording on the website at a later date of the ANC 3F website.
David, Commissioner Christelle, I have some questions.
Go for it. Floor is yours.
Okay, first of all, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming tonight. It's been immensely informative. I have a couple of questions, one regarding the pipe replacement project and a couple related to soapstone. With respect to soapstone, are all trees created equal? mature growth, large diameter trees treated the same way in the qualification-based selection process as, you know, 3-year-old trees? I'm just curious because there's such a variety of growth in soapstone.
So I'll answer the diameter and then I'll let Barack mention a thing or two about how we handled the different species. Basically on that form, I'd mentioned that they're putting a number in there, but it is broken down by 3 different diameter ranges, which is the really big trees, the kind of the medium sized ones, and then the smaller trees are broken out differently in that.
Okay, so then it follows therefore that you'll be qualitatively, you'll be looking at those differently. Got it. Okay,
and some trees, of course, are invasive. And as we were going through the NEPA process with the Park Service, you know, cutting down an invasive tree versus cutting down a pristine sample tree, there's a significant difference between those two as well.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. That's helpful. The other question I had, I think, is pretty straightforward. It's about scheduling. I wasn't sure that I understood the slide about December 22 to December 23. Is it the case that this project will only be going on during the winter months, or is it the case that it'll be once it starts, it's going to continue going on?
The intention of that last bullet is basically to say the December of 22 and January of 23, that winter timeframe is when the project would end. So we've got a bit more than a year, which basically kind of covers all of the seasons for construction in there.
Okay, and so the intention is to have construction ongoing during those seasons. It won't take a break during summer or spring.
Barack, there's probably a detail there to clarify that I'm not up to speed on. Can you share that?
Yeah, that is correct. No, the construction will take place. As far as the tree removing, we're only allowed to cut trees between November 1st and March 31st per the limitation to the northern long-eared bat, but the construction will be continuous.
I see. Okay, so there's a distinction between the tree work versus the construction work regarding the actual implementation of the project and when that will take place.
Yes, correct. And then to your previous question about special trees, I'd like to add something to that. So we have potential heritage trees that are not on NPS property. We have flagged them on the drawings, and certain species were given preferential treatment during the development of our design per NPS. We anticipate that more negotiation on trees will take place during construction with NPS.
Okay, David, can you indulge me in one more question related to the pipe replacement project? Mr. Briggs, first of all, I just want to say thank you to you because you seem to work around the clock. We had a water outage overnight last week, and he was on email and phone and everything well into the wee hours of the morning. So I can't tell you how much the folks at Forest Hills appreciate it. Thank you. You are tireless. I have 2 questions with respect to that. One is the water. People have been asking, so many people have been asking, when the water runs cloudy, is it still okay to drink? Is it still potable?
Okay, I'm definitely going to let Maureen Schmeling speak to that portion.
I think she's gone.
Oh, she's gone?
No, I think she's here. Her name's up. I think she has to unmute herself.
Maybe on mute.
Yeah, she's on mute.
Okay, maybe I can go on to my second question. There's also a lot of curiosity and desire to understand when the roads will be reconstructed, because they have been, as you know, terribly ripped up, and including the curb as well. So many curbs have been smashed through this. So folks are wanting assurance that whoever the proper authorities are that will come in afterward and take care of that work.
Yes, so I can definitely speak to that. So any portion of infrastructure, be it roadways, sidewalks, yards, and things of that nature, any portions of infrastructure that have been disturbed directly as part of our project will be restored before our contractor leaves the site. In many instances, we're able to do a restoration side by side. So as we finish up a street, as we're simultaneously moving on to other blocks, we're able to start at least some base concrete restoration in the previous block where water main replacement has been completed. So in some instances, we're kind of double teaming restoration and moving on to a new block. But in short, we will address any portion that has been disturbed as part of our construction project.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Wall, you've been patiently with your hand up.
Thanks, Commissioner Castillo, and I echo Commissioner Mehta's thanks. One, for coming this evening, as well as the responsiveness when we had the water outage the other week. My question is regarding, during a period of construction, will there be any impacts upstream to residents in Forest Hill in terms of sewer backups or anything like that they might experience more often than not?
With regard to the sewer rehab, okay, Will.
Well, I was just going to ask the same thing. You're talking about as the Soapstone sewer rehab is under construction upstream of that?
Correct. Yeah.
No, there wouldn't be any impacts. The majority of the flow coming into Soapstone, we're able to kind of bypass that around. The west half of Audubon Terrace, we are lining that sewer as well. Well, we're lining all of Audubon Terrace. So those homes, on the day that work is happening, we wouldn't be able to have any water coming into the sewer system because it would interfere with construction. That should be on the order of, I mean, it's definitely less than a full work day to get that done.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner David or Buechner or Nemeth or Appa, any questions for Mr. Briggs and team?
I do have a quick question, and maybe I might have missed this, so I apologize. With the trees that will be cut, will the park be closed to, I'm getting a lot of questions from my community about, like, is the park going to be completely shut down?
Yes, I can answer to that. So Soapstone Valley Park will be closed to the public during construction, and portions of the park would remain closed for up to 2 years post-construction to allow for post-construction restoration, which would support the restoration of aquatic and terrestrial habitats. Well, unfortunately, it's not good news, and we know that. We all know you enjoy the park, but we have to close the park for safety during construction. And after construction, to make sure it comes back to life full formed, we do need to close portions of the park. So for your safety, for the vegetation, short answer, yes, we need to close the park, unfortunately.
Great, I appreciate that. I've just been getting a couple questions about that. If it's going to be, some people have just moved to the neighborhood and heard about this and want to know if it would be completely closed. So I appreciate you sharing that.
No, that's great. And you finally got my attention when you said the park will be closed. So I think this is kind of to the number of you that have asked questions about getting this information out. I think we're going to be, that'll be an important thing for all of us to do to make sure so that when this does happen and the park is closed, we get the word out about it so people, know about it and don't kind of complain to us and you all and so on. So thanks for that.
And Chairman Castillo, really quickly, I just want to wrap back. I think Maureen might still be on mute, but I don't like leaving loose ends. So because we still have the pending question about the cloudiness of the water, as far as I understand with these processes is we do communicate to customers at the onset of projects via our project information sheet that during these kind of construction projects, you might notice some discolored water. And so we just advise you to run your cold water tap for about 15 minutes to see if that will clear. We often will recommend you do that from the lowest point of your house. So if you have a basement or the lowest point or other lowest point. And if that still doesn't clear, then to call our drinking water division at 202-612-3440.
Thank you, Mr. Briggs. Any more questions from the commissioners?
Yes. So hi, thank you for coming. Monica Nemeth, 3806. And so I just want to clarify on your tentative schedule. When you're saying you're identifying shortlisted firms, so does that mean your RFP has already gone out and so you have responses coming in, and really what you're doing is you're going to be winnowing down the responses to your a set group that you want to get your best and final offers from? Is that how I should be reading that? What's going on right now?
Yeah, what that winnowing, we would call it a short list, and it's basically the most qualified is kind of the industry term, right? The most qualified contractors based on DC Water's review of the technical proposals.
Okay, so the technical proposal, so they haven't made an offer per se, or they have, or what, they haven't responded to an RFP. They've just put forth a technical proposal, and now you're going to ask them to actually give their actual proposal itself.
Yeah, we do call it a technical proposal, and in that they describe like their org chart of who's going to be working on the project, the skills of the superintendent, the project manager, those kinds of things, the company projects that they've worked on to show that they've done this kind of work before, and then we ask them certain questions about how do you intend on managing or how do you intend on handling the situation? Like, for example, that alleyway in between Park Van Ness and Park Connecticut is a particular constraint for this project. And the west half, that's a significant challenge. And the west half of Audubon Terrace is similar. So there's easily a dozen or more questions that are very specific like that we ask them to respond to. So in addition to their skills and qualifications on previous projects that are similar, we evaluate them on their basically it's a management approach or a technical approach on how they plan to handle those issues.
So basically, they responded to an RFP without pricing is the way to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay, and then so once you've selected from the technical approaches people you want to hear from further, then you're going to request actual
bids. Yeah.
Okay.
So and what we did is for the proposal, we gave them an intermediate set of designs, what we at DC Water called a pre-final. So they haven't seen the final design documents. They were just finished a couple weeks back. Once we have that short list of contractors defined, we'll give them the final drawings and specifications. That'll have all the bid forms that they need to fill out. It'll have the schedule of prices that lays out exactly how much they're putting in their price for. And one of those things includes that tree form that says, you know, how many trees, what's the smallest number we can do it in.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, any other questions?
I just have one quick question. You're hiring a community specialist, which is awesome. Can you just send us that information when you get that, if you're in the process now of doing that?
Sure. I actually don't think we have the contract quite in place yet, so it might be a little bit premature to do it right now. We'd like to get our consultants under contract before we start having them do work so we can pay them. But definitely we'll be in touch with their contact information. And I guess I mean, relative to that, is a monthly newsletter something that the commissioners are interested in, and is there any particular content that you'd be looking for in that, or kind of general updates on the status of construction, what's happened in the last month, what's happening in the next month, those kinds of things?
Yeah, I was thinking through what you could put in the newsletter earlier. And I think the key thing from my perspective is what you talked about earlier about where in the park you'll be working, but then also where in the timeline we are, and then whether we're on track or behind. And if we are behind, what's being done to make sure that we're getting back up to speed.
Right, and then one other, I mean, I've seen the updates from DPR and DGS on Hearst Park and Pool, and one suggestion for updating that is they usually send out their notice in February about what happened in the past. I think it'd be interesting or better for us if you sent us a newsletter that said looked into the future as well.
So we can do that. I know on some of our, on one of our projects I'm thinking of in particular, our Potomac Interceptor project, we actually have since October 2018 been keeping the community updated with a monthly update in terms of completed and upcoming activities as best as we can forecast them. So I'm sure that's something that we could talk through and figure out.
I think we've had a really, really, really good discussion. And as we mentioned, there'll be information on our website, and those that want some of the details, they can go and get the recording and kind of see how the, you know, the narrative, which was in some level of detail as Mr. Briggs and Kynak and Eldridge presented. So thanks for coming and sharing information with you. As you can see, there's a lot of interest in this. So we know where to find you, you know where to find us. And so we look forward to working with you as this project unfolds. So thanks again for your time and expertise and sharing your information with us.
Absolutely. Anytime. Thank you.
And the link is out there for the feedback survey. So feel free to certainly sign on. We want to know what you think about our presentation, what ways we can improve in our presentation quality. So feel free to fill out that survey, and we're available as you need us.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
next on our agenda is a draft resolution for the Connecticut Avenue reversible lane studies. As I think you know, this is something that's been like the Soapstone, Melvin Hazen projects. This has been going on for a long time now. And so I think we're at the part of the process where DDOT's going to have, they've been having meetings with the community, gone to the ANCs a couple of times, gone to the business community and others. And they're having their kind of first come all community meeting next week, actually a couple weeks from now, the 30th and 1st of April. And so we thought, we've been kind of working with the Streets and Sidewalks Committee and asked them, I think we talked about this, commissioners asked them to draft a resolution for us to consider. And so they prepared a draft. I think all my fellow commissioners have seen it, and I'm gonna stop talking and turn the floor over to Bob Daling, who's our Streets and Sidewalks Chair, to walk us through this draft resolution that we'll consider. Bob, it's on to you.
Sure, thank you. Well, I don't have the ability to share my screen, and I know the commissioners have the resolution draft already. So I'll just briefly sort of describe how our committee went about creating this. It's obviously a committee draft. Oh, there we go. It's up on the screen. So, you know, I'm no expert at drafting resolutions. Maybe some of you are. But I started with sort of the history of the project. So there's a few clauses about where this originated with resolutions from this ANC and others. Then there's a series of resolutions that sort of go into what the guiding principles are of the study itself. And this is all taken directly from DDOT presentations that they've given to this ANC and others. So there's the sort of the background principles, the guiding principles. Then it goes through a series of whereas clauses on the next page involving sort of the backdrop of the study, Vision Zero, some of the other initiatives of our mayor, the complete streets concept, which is described with a quote from the actual statute setting up what the complete streets principles are all about. And then moves sort of to where DDOT is in terms of what they call their build concepts. These are the alternatives that have been outlined in these presentations in the last few months. So there are a series of build concepts. I think some of you are familiar with these. They're given letters A through, I believe, E right now. DDOT has not made a secret that they've sort of narrowed it down to a few that they seem to think are maybe more, I don't know what the word is, viable maybe than others, but they're all still on the table. After describing the build concepts briefly, I also described something called the potential corridor safety improvements. I think, David, this may be on page 3 of the draft. Yes, bottom of 2, beginning of 3. Potential corridor safety improvements. And these are, there it is. These are possible actions that DDOT has described taking regardless of the outcome of the study. And so all of these bullet points here, looking at a lower speed limit, looking at red light cameras, signal visibility, these sorts of things are all on the table, DDOT says, in terms of any option they choose. A few of these options, of course, presume the removal of reversible lane, and I noted that. Of course, a bicycle lane, a pedestrian refuge island, turn lanes, those sorts of things assume the removal of reversible lane. And so then continues with another whereas clause or two. It's a rather long resolution as these things go. But when we get to the therefore resolved parts, that's, I think, where the commissioners would maybe have the most to say. So it obviously suggests that the commission will continue to work with DDOT to develop the recommendations, et cetera. And then, and this came from something that Commissioner Christine had suggested to me, and our committee supported strongly. It says that we hope that DDOT will implement as soon as possible many of their corridor safety improvements that have already been identified, that are consistent with the, of course, Vision Zero and the goal of complete street principles. So it urges DDOT to do that. And then it does take the position in the, I guess, the final be it therefore resolved clause that concept C seems to be the most consistent with the goals of the safety study, at least as we see it so far. And so it makes that point. And Commissioner Christine may wish to add something, but that's how I structured it. I think the idea is it's out for your consideration, and whatever you decide to do next is, I'm willing to get the committee to jump back in and help you if you want. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob, Mr. Dealing, for that overview. That was a good detail. And this is the draft. And as I said, I think we're getting it out for public consumption, for our consumption and the community's consumption. And then, as I mentioned, in the time frame, so I think it's pretty much, it's March 30th in the day and April 1st in the evening. DDOT's going to have this really extensive meeting that's like our meeting that we've had a couple times in other ANCs and other communities, but it's got a little bit more structure to it and a little bit more kind of getting into some of the weeds around parking and loading and so on. So we encourage people to attend that meeting. We've got the information on our website already. And then what happens is then it's essentially, this is really out in the community. And I think, my recommendation is, of course, is for us to consider this resolution at our April 20th meeting, which is more than a month from now. And hopefully between now and then, people have asked us questions. They'll go to the DDOT meeting and have more discussion. And hopefully we'll be ready as an ANC to move this resolution on. So that's all I have to say. I have to entertain questions from our commissioners, and then if we've got time, we can take some questions from the community.
I don't have any questions. I just wanted to say thank you so much for all of the hard work. You mentioned that it was a long resolution, which means that a lot of work went into it. And we definitely appreciate all the work of the committee.
Any other commissioners have questions, comments?
I just want to second Matt's comment, basically thanking Bob and the committee and everyone who worked on this, because clearly a lot of effort was put into this. And so thank you. And also we will be putting this up on the website, so everyone, I know people who are right now listening, watching on Zoom, the public will get a chance to see this resolution in its current state while it's drafted. So we've already begun receiving emails from the public with their opinions, and I'm sure we will continue to receive more of them and in greater numbers over the next month or so. And we'll get this draft resolution posted in the next couple of days.
Any other commissioners want to comment before we turn it over to the community?
Bob, I have a quick question. Thank you for putting this together. My question is, to what extent has input from businesses along Connecticut Avenue been funneled to your committee, and how did your committee take that into consideration? Because from what I understand, the big concern of businesses is the loss of parking along Connecticut Avenue, and some of them really rely on that.
Yes, the folks from DDOT have done a lot of outreach, of course, to the businesses. Our committee was aware of some of that because a lot of our members of our committee have attended some of those events. I think also our committee was looking at the DDOT information about the parking issue itself. And as you all may know, they have tried to address the parking issue in terms of the various build concepts, including in the build concept C, which is of course the one that would take away the most parking. So short answer is yes, our committee was very aware. We have not had any, actual business, I think, representation on the committee. That's fair to say, but the committee itself was well aware about how the parking issue is a concern.
Yeah, and I think if I could jump in, there is, if even in concept C, there is going to be parking on one side of the street for all of the 4 main business areas. So from Woodley Park to the south, Cleveland Park, Van Ness, and the Chevy Chase Circle. There will be one side of the street which will have on-street parking and loading. And I've got Gloria Garcia is with us, and she is with the Van Ness Main Street. And so Gloria, if you want to mute yourself, we'll give you a chance to kind of chime in terms of your conversations with the business community. Gloria, the floor is yours if you'd like it.
Thanks. I was trying to unmute myself. Yeah, we have been engaged with DDOT for probably a year now on outreach to the businesses. The survey has been distributed at least 10 times. We have had 3 business meetings specifically with the businesses, 2 with just our Van Ness Main Street, and 1 that included Woodley Park, Cleveland Park, and Van Ness Main Street businesses. But I do have to say that it's on one hand, the input and the engagement on our corridor. Probably only 5 businesses have attended those meetings. And, as I go door to door, they really don't know what's happening. So, I am going to once again encourage them to attend these last 2 meetings so they understand what is, happening, especially under Concept C. So, is that?
Go ahead, Gloria.
Hello?
Yeah,
No, go ahead.
Well, Gloria, it sounds like you're leading the horse to water, but you can't make the horse drink.
Yes. This has been a difficult year, as you know, and so there's been other concerns. And I just think that once they wake up and start really, focusing on this, because the 5 businesses that have been engaged have asked really good questions. Some of the questions were with relation to the traffic data, because we have a totally different traffic pattern now with, curbside pickups and et cetera. So, I just hope that I can, once again, try to lead the horses to water in these last 2 meetings.
Right.
For more input. I do know, and I told David, I think that Woodley Park and Cleveland Park are, a little bit more concerned about the parking. We do have parking off street more behind our businesses, especially on the west side and especially on the east side, up in the upper, behind Politics and Pros. So, we don't have the Cleveland Park, Woodley Park issue with parking.
But I think, yeah, and that's a good point. I think there's, again, part of the, Bob and I are both on the community advisory committee, and this, I don't want, tension between, parking and essentially taking away parking in place of bike lanes. I mean, there's a legitimate concern about that. And I think DDOT has done a good job of trying to, again, by having parking on one side of the street in the business areas, at least trying to accommodate that. But I think again, and this is where I kind of come down as a, what do I think as a commissioner? It's really, it is really, what is the vision for Connecticut Avenue? And, the way it was before is it really was in some ways a highway for getting folks back, to and from downtown. And I think there's a opportunity, as we've talked, to really change that. The numbers that DDOT showed during the pandemic, the traffic's down almost 50%. And so the question is, what's going to happen post-pandemic? And I think that's a legitimate question. But I think the more important question is really, what kind of Connecticut Avenue do we want as people that live along it, walk along it, shop along it, ride bikes along it? And so I think that's kind of the, kind of where I land in terms of, really what's the normative, what is the future, what is the better street we want that's safer for more people. And so that's, again, kind of where I'm coming down on this particular issue. I know there's one business in our audience, and there's part of me that wants to pretend I'm a teacher, but given my last experience, I think I'll pause that impulse for right now. Anybody else in the audience want to ask a question, raise a concern? I mean,
David, there is one question from Josh Rising about the resolution with DDOT not, I'll just read the question. Does the resolution encourage DDOT not to return to the status quo when the reversible lanes, even once the pandemic ends? So I think we do have language around that, but I'll let Bob speak to that.
We actually do have language around that, yeah. And it says it pretty clearly too. It just says, be it further resolved, the ANC urges DDOT to permanently remove the reversible lane operation. So yeah, I think that the committee kind of went with a couple of options there. You could urge them to keep the reversible lane not operating during the pandemic. You could urge them to do something else. There's a clause earlier in the resolution that talks about how DDOT has already made some findings regarding safety of the reversible lane. And those findings are pretty stark. So I think our committee's position was, in light of a finding that says it's not safe, it doesn't make a lot of sense to say bring it back. And so that's just kind of where the committee came out anyway.
Any more questions before we move on? We've got a little bit of time left, and I do want to save part of this meeting for some other questions that the community may have.
Commissioner Castile, just one quick comment, and that's with regard to making sure that as the DDOT moves forward, once they've selected their preferred alternative, and I am in support of the resolution. I think it was very well drafted, so thank you in the committee for advancing that. But making sure that they develop real, mitigation strategies to ensure that any changes to Connecticut Avenue don't create, undesirable impacts in the neighborhoods. So people speeding to cut through a certain area, or running stop signs and things like that, just to try to avoid Connecticut Avenue. Just want to make sure they look at the entire area, not just the avenue itself.
Yep. Good question. Thanks, Commissioner Wall. And I think I'm pretty, not going to answer for DDOT, but I think they have taken that into consideration, or they're looking at that. And I think, they are looking at, what happens, all the way to Rock Creek and all the way to Wisconsin Avenue in terms of what the impacts would be, depending on which option, what the concepts are. All right, I think thanks for the good questions and the input. Again, this resolution will be in draft form for a while. We encourage you to look at it. We encourage you to go to DDOT's website. Again, the meetings on March 30th and April 1st, do attend those. It's important for DDOT to kind of hear from us. And then, as we mentioned earlier, we're going to probably vote on some version of this resolution at our April 20th meeting. So if you liked what you heard tonight, come back on the 20th, and we'll get some more of this. So I'm going to switch gears now. This is the part of our meeting where we have questions from the community on items that may have not been talked about tonight. So we will, amongst the 7 of us, try to field questions, and feel free to put them at the chat. I know been getting a couple texts by somebody who's concerned about, I think it's the construction that's going on in Wisconsin Avenue, the school's letting out, and sort of what we're all doing about that. Is that, if you're on the phone, and I see Corey Levine here, so I go back to my teacher mode. Corey, if you want to do better than I did with that question, go for it. You got the floor.
I think it's a question about, I don't know in every neighborhood if people are experiencing any kind of detrimental effects from not having the residential parking permits being enforced. But over by the new construction at Upton Place and City Ridge, which is the former Fannie Mae and on Wisconsin there, and then the corner building there that used to have a Quick Copy and everything. The construction workers have been parking up and down our streets for at least 7 months, and it just has kind of snowballed with each new construction project starting, to the point that there are hundreds of construction workers parking in the neighborhood, and there's been very little pressure on those companies, Roadside Development and Donahoe, and to some extent Blue Sky up at Hearst Park, to find somewhere else for them to park, because there is no ticketing happening right now because of the public health emergency. So it's just become a hazard. I mean, just a nuisance. And I think a lot of the residents near me are a little bit fed up and a little bit concerned that now that Sidwell is going to go back in person April 12th full time, and a lot of the Hearst kids are going to be coming back to school on April 19th, that the combination of all of the parking being gone and people parking in spots that are actually supposed to not have parking for certain hours because of the schools, that there's going to be major traffic issues and kind of dangerous conditions going on around those schools, in addition to all of the other problems, which have included, idling in cars, honking horns, driving recklessly, trash everywhere that's been going on for the last 6 months.
Well, actually yesterday, during the May, I think it was yesterday, yeah. During
On Thursday there was something, but yeah, go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, the mayor, during the mayor's press conference yesterday, they're going to start enforcing parking again.
All the parking, not just, because I remember something that
Well,
said,
my understanding, it's it's going to be phased in. Like, I'm not sure if it's going to be on the 22nd. All parking is going to be enforced yet, or does that? I thought there was going to be like some
loading zones in schools. Yeah.
loading zones in schools.
Yeah, loading zones in schools on Monday, next Monday.
Yes, and that I saw something to that effect, but it's still the meters and the residential parking permits are not.
But I think that's coming soon. I think
I hope
there's.
so. I didn't know if there's anything we could do.
I think the plan is that they're. My understanding is that there actually is an intent to get that going in short order.
Right. And that'd be great. I mean, I understand that there's a problem with the DMV and getting appointments, and a lot of people with out-of-state plates not be able to get DC plates. And so it's hard because there's some people that it legitimately shouldn't be enforced against. But then when people are taking advantage of it, like, the construction companies who should be actually paying for and finding somewhere else for their people to park, it's difficult.
Agreed.
That's number one. Do I get another one, David, or no?
How about let's go. I think we've got a Juanita Gray has her hand up, and then when she's done and nobody else has a question, we'll come back to you. But I won't forget you.
Okay. Thank you.
You're in the queue again.
Hi, Commissioner. Juanita, University of the District of Columbia. I don't have any questions. I just have some updates, if that's okay. Are we at the community forum right now?
Yeah, we are. Yeah, so go ahead, and then we'll have Corey's on deck.
Okay, so tomorrow the university has our performance hearing. It's at 12 o'clock if anyone wants to log into City Council's website to watch. Updates on tennis courts, they are on schedule for completion. They should be completed midsummer. I spoke with our athletic director, and I thought it would be a good idea that once we get closer to the courts being finished, for her to come on and speak to the community about the tennis program, the cost, the sign up, how that's going to work. So once we get closer, I'll do that. If you've read probably in Forest Hill Connection, All Care Family Medicine and Urgent Care will be opening up. They're opening up in 4340 Connecticut. That's the space that the Washingtonia collection was temporarily housed at. We don't have a date of when they're going to be opening. It really just depends on how much renovation needs to be done in the space. So once we get closer to that, I'll let the community know. Let's see, the university has been approached about hosting a vaccination site. I can't tell you by which company, but we are in negotiations with that right now. So if that does come to fruition, again, I will let the community know. The Ward 3 Mutual Aid Group, they have partnered with, and if you're not familiar, Ward 3 Mutual Aid approached the university about hosting a food bank in 4225 Connecticut, the old Walgreens building. We're happy to do that. They have partnered with the International Women's Democracy Center. So since that organization is a 501c3, they have the proper insurance. The MOU will be with them and not with the Ward 3 Mutual Aid Group because they're just a group, they're not an organization. But we are actively working on putting that MOU together. And then lastly, the campus master plan has been submitted to the Zoning Commission. We do not have our hearing date yet, but once I get that information, I will let you know. We did want to ask ANC3F for a resolution of support for the master plan. Is that a possibility? That would be fantastic.
Thanks, Juanita Gray, for coming and giving us all that good news. Glad to hear about the tennis courts and the vaccination center and the health. And to your last question, I guess the answer is, I mean, I think, yeah, we'd love to consider it and we'd love to support the plan. We'd probably, again, once you know what your timing is, you know, we can schedule that, whether it's a part of this meeting or if we had, if it warrants a special meeting, we could do it at that time. So just give us a good lead time so that we can, you know, we can talk amongst ourselves and figure out when the best time, and with you all, and figure out when the best time to have that meeting about the master plan. And I don't know if my commissioners have anything else to add to that.
So do you all want another meeting with our contractors who put the plan together to go over everything?
Yeah, I think that'd be appropriate. And again, because I think now it's in a relatively, I don't want to say final form, but it's pretty well, you know, it's a draft and it's before the city staff have it. And so I think it's a good time to come back to us and kind of go through it.
Okay, that is not a problem.
Thanks.
Well, excuse me, Commissioner Castillo, it'll also be, maybe it's already there, I haven't looked at this moment, but is it on the website so that the public can also look at it in case they want to offer any comments?
It is, yes.
Okay, I mean on ANC's website.
No, well, I'm not sure if you all have posted it, but it's on our website. I'll put it in the link in the chat for people to access.
Okay, terrific. I think we should get that up on our website.
Right, and I think again, maybe it was in my head, but it didn't come out of my mouth. You know, we would get it on the website, and then we'd make sure that it's been out in the public for a while, and then we'd have the meeting and the presentation. So I mean, again, we can talk about process offline, but I think my understanding, and want to correct me if I'm wrong, but from what I understand from what the city said is that you don't. You know, your current plan is in force until the new one's adopted. So there's not necessarily a hard, you know, this has to be adopted by June 30th, 2021 or December 31st. So I think we've got some time, but again, you let us know what works for you and we'll do the best we can to accommodate that schedule. So I think we have, I think Corey, you're back again with a question, and then we got Gloria from Van Ness Main Street also has a question.
Okay, great. One thing that I've been working on with the Parks and Watersheds meeting is the Melvin Hazen Park, just keeping tabs on it. And in that I've been speaking with Jean Braha of the Rock Creek Conservancy, and she proposed and outlined kind of what they're doing down there with creating the Oasis, which is what they're calling some sites where they've been removing invasive plants. And we also were speaking with DOE and how they have money to support the parks, but they don't have money for invasive plant removal. And I guess there is some precedent of obtaining a grant through the ANC for that purpose for Rock Creek Conservancy. So she had asked us to kind of propose that as a possibility after giving us a very detailed outline of what they were spending money on. And it's, I think, in the range of, it's paying for the plants to plant up the slope of Melvin Hazen. Anybody who's been down in that area, the one right behind Sedgwick and Tilden, they've been removing the English ivy and bamboo and planting native plants. So I just wanted to bring that up and see if we can possibly move forward with something on that line.
There is an application process for grants,
Right.
and the information, I mean, we're in grant cycle right now.
Right.
I'm trying to, there's information about it on our website, so trying to see what exactly we've got, but.
And I think I just posted the link because I think someone else asked about that earlier, so I can repost the link for the grants if that's not needed.
Yeah, there's the grant section where we have our guidelines, and there's an actual formal application that needs to be filed, and so.
So, right, so it's on our website, and I guess we can, this would, and I imagine Corey would go through the Parks and Wetlands Committee on some level, but it's, again, I think you've done, you and Jean have done some great legwork on this. So I think it's pretty much, it's just a matter of minutes to get that application together.
Okay, great.
And into us.
Awesome.
So I think Gloria from Venice, I see your hand is up, so the floor is yours.
Thanks, David. I'll be quick. This is Gloria Garcia, ED of Venice Main Street. Many of you may have seen our announcement last week. We have joined forces with the Forest Hills Connection. We have become their nonprofit. They were looking for a new home. So now the Forest Hills Connection is a program of Venice Main Street, and we're very excited about that. The other thing that we announced last week is that we have a new website. Check it out when you have a minute. We're very excited about it and hope that it meets people's needs better. The directory was updated, which was the most important part, so people can find our businesses, and especially since we expanded to Nebraska Avenue. And last but not least, we just launched Spring Now, which is our fundraising, spring activities and events that hopefully will bring the community out to the street and enjoy the weather once it breaks for real. And this past weekend, thanks Kathy Sykes for joining us, but many of you know there's a streetery in front of Americano and Rosemary's Bistro. We painted it, we prepped it for Cherry Blossom Festival, and now it has reflectors and it's bright neon white. So for safety reasons, as well as sprucing it up. So more to come. And this week, we're partnering with the mayor's trash-free DC movement. And so everyone's going to be cleaning up the city. And so we are no different. We will be handing out trash bags at the Van Ness offices at 4340 between 10 and 11. Encourage people just to get out and clean up Van Ness along with everybody in the city. And then from the 27th through April 10th, we'll be having activities. Kathy Sykes, our fearless master gardener, will be once again leading the plantings for 3 straight weekends, both Saturday and Sunday with some rain dates. So we're very excited about that. And then on April 10th, we are having a pop-up pet food pantry with partnering with the Humane Rescue Alliance. So we'll be handing out pet food for those in our neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods who are in need of food for their pets. So more to come on other activities, but that's it, David, for now. Thanks.
Thanks, Gloria. All right, so any more questions from the community or concerns? If going once, going twice, Any hands out there? This is the time.
David, is it okay? I know this is community, but I just want to make one announcement about plug about the vaccines. Is that okay?
Sure.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that everyone knew to register for the vaccine. DC is doing really a good job of making sure people get pre-registered. If you are not able to pre-register on the website, there is a phone number that you can call to get help registering. I'm going to drop it in the chat here to just now. Please, 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 I'm encouraging them. This is my public health background speaking now. Please, 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 everybody, make sure to register. We want to make sure everybody, especially in our community, I know people have been waiting a really long time to get vaccinated and to get back to their families and friends and all of that fun stuff. The faster we can do this, the better it'll be for all of us, including our businesses. We can see each other. Maybe we can have this meeting in person at some point. So please register. And if you do have issues, please give us feedback, because then we can try to funnel that back either through Mary Chay's office or back to Mayor Bowser's office. So please register. That's my plug.
Thank you, Commissioner Appa. That's a great message. I think we've talked amongst ourselves about, won't it be wonderful when we can get back to in-person meetings again? So the sooner we get vaccinated and kind of get this this virus under control, the sooner we'll be back at UDC, and I think we'll try to figure out how to accommodate both what we're doing right now and in person. So any other questions or concerns before we call it a night?
Just one final thing which I should have mentioned, which I forgot to mention. Back in November, ANC3F, we passed a resolution in favor of and urging the National Park Service to rename Melvin Hazen Park. And we sent it along to Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton's office. And she, in fact, did. She told us that she would take action on that. And she, in fact, has. She has written the Park Service and has been urging them. So there seems to be some movement on that effort to rename the park. In fact, earlier this month, Washington gave some history and wrote about our efforts along those lines as well. So it's been a little bit of movement, and hopefully some change will come there.
Thanks, Commissioner Nemeth. Okay, anything else? If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second that motion.
Well, first, so moved.
Oh, so moved. Sorry. So moved.
I'll second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, thanks for joining us tonight, and got lots to do between now and our next meeting, which is April 20th. It's a Tuesday, the third Tuesday of the month, 7 o'clock, right here. Have a good night.
Take care, everybody.
Good night.
Night.